Nazi. Pedophile apologist. More people believe one of those claims than the other. Hi, I'm Danny Duchamp, welcome to my shitty Honda Fit. So a lot has been said about those two scandals lately, or slanders, depending on who you ask. A lot has even been said about the two in tandem. For example, Sargon of Akkad, popular YouTuber, did a video earlier yesterday explaining why he believes both are examples of unjustified media witch hunts. I'm not going to be doing anything like that myself today. Instead, what I'm going to do is compare and contrast the two in terms of strategy. To do this, let's just take a look at them one by one as though we are utter normies, coming across these stories for the first time, not knowing very much about either of the people involved. Also, we're going to assume that we're averagely intelligent and vaguely honest, not dogmatically for one side or the other. Well, we're new to the issue, essentially, is what I'm saying. Alright, so, are you in character? Good, let's go. Taking a look at the PewDiePie story first, we come across articles like this one, calling him literally Hitler. This seems rather extreme, doesn't it? Well, let's take a look at the videos in question to see what horrible comments justify such claims.
Let's get into the latest scoops. What? What's with the Christmas? I like the editing.
Subscribe to Keemstar.
Okay, those are clearly jokes, right? This is fucking stupid. Surely these are jokes. Did he respond to this? Let's take a look.
How is this news? This is insane. They don't call it jokes. They call it posts. I made a point that the media takes what I say out of context. They take that and put it out of context to use against me and to portray me as a Nazi. I think what this article shows more than anything, old school media does not like internet personalities because they're scared of us.
Yes! He's confirmed my initial reaction. Clearly joking. PewDiePie is innocent, and frankly pretty funny. The media, on the other hand, is either massively inept at understanding obvious humor or actively deceptive. And so our hypothetical person has been red-pilled on the dishonest and idiotic media. And PewDiePie has his reputation intact, with a little bit of extra publicity out of the deal. And this has been a successful defense, right? And all it took was staying on point and being honest. Now, let's take a look at our other case study. Everyone re-blue pill yourself. Okay, here we go. Taking a look at the Milo Yiannopoulos situation, we see articles like this one, calling him a paedophile apologist. Again, a rather extreme claim. Let's take a look at the evidence they provide.
The law is probably about right. That's probably roughly the right age. I think it's probably about okay. But there are certainly people who are capable of giving consent at a younger age. I certainly consider myself to be one of them. People who are sexually active younger. I think it particularly happens in the gay world, by the way. And in many cases, actually, those relationships with older men. This is one of the. This is one of the reasons I hate the left. They have this sort of stupid, one size fits all policing of culture. This sort of arbitrary.
Milo.
This arbitrary.
Let him talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'll be quick. This arbitrary and oppressive idea of consent, which totally destroys, the understanding that many of us have of the complexities and subtleties and complicated nature of many relationships. People are messy and complex, and actually, in the homosexual world, particularly, some of those relationships between younger boys and older men, the sort of coming of age relationships, the relationships in which those older men help those young boys to discover who they are and give them security and safety and provide them with love and a reliable and sort of a rock where they can't speak to their parents. Some of those relationships are some of the most
molestation to me. It sounds like,
well, you know what?
It sounds like Catholic priest molestation to me.
Alright, so while it doesn't sound like he's joking, it does sound a bit ambiguous. Surely there's a bit more context here. Has Milo responded to this? It seems he has. Great, this should clear things up.
Hey guys, it's Milo here. You've probably seen by now reports and videos that allege that I'm some kind of apologist for pedophilia or some kind of enabler of child abuse. Nothing could be further from the truth. When I spoke about relationships between older men and younger men, I used the word boys, and I shouldn't have done that. Gay people do say like boy and girl to mean people of consenting adults very often. Sometimes it's usually like the passive partner gets to is the boy. But I understand that straight people wouldn't necessarily know that.
What? He says he wasn't talking about 13-year-olds? From the videos, it really seemed like it was. Let's take in a bit more context. The following is the comment that Milo was responding to when he was talking about young boys on that hangout.
I hung around with 13-year-old guys, when I was 13, and there were some of them that still thought girls were fucking icky at 13. Like, not many, but like they were just coming out of that phase. I don't know that I was ready at 13 to get fucked in the ass by a 28-year-old black drag queen, is what I'm saying. So you can't. The reason these age of consent laws exist is because we have to set some kind of a barometer here. We've got to pick an age and go, okay, look, this is the age where we can reasonably be assured you're an adult, you can give informed consent, you understand the risks and pregnancy risks and all that bullshit.
I think the law is probably about right. That's probably roughly the right age. I think it's probably about.
Okay, Milo was lying. He absolutely was talking about 13-year-olds. Why would he lie about what he said unless he really was a pedo apologist? Thank God for the mainstream media, alerting us to this terrible rhetoric. I hope no socially conservative people still support Milo. I hope he loses his book deal. And so, Mr. Hypothetical remains totally unaware of the media hit piece to which he just fell prey. And why? Because Milo lied. And that's the moral, the first one at least, of these stories today. If you were caught in a media scandal, stay completely honest. If you're willing to backtrack and lie about your position, then you're going to be a lot easier to take down. And Milo didn't need to lie. If you look at the full context of what he was saying, he wasn't advocating the legalization of grown men fucking 13-year-old boys. He was simply stating the perfectly reasonable position that the age of consent is somewhat arbitrary. It won't always be correct for every given individual. There are possibly some 13-year-olds even who are ready to make that decision, and there are possibly some 18-year-olds who still aren't. The point is that in general 13-year-olds aren't capable of meaningfully consenting, and in general 18-year-olds are. The age of consent is just the best we can do without some method of accurately analysing capacity to consent more objectively than we currently can. We have to draw the line somewhere. Within the region of 16 to 18 is just a pretty decent place to put it, as Milo agreed when he himself stated that that age is about right. If, instead of lying, he explained that, this scandal wouldn't be getting as believed as it is. Now, he was potentially a bit more zealous and uncareful than he should have been while making this rather uncomfortable point in the original hangout.
It sounds like Catholic priest molestation to me.
And you know what? I'm grateful for Father Michael. I wouldn't give nearly such good head if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, that's a little bit over the top, but it's nothing that can't be explained by the fact that Milo is speaking from the position of dealing with his own molestation. He's not an abuser, he's an abuse victim. I think you need to be understanding of that when you're listening to his rhetoric on the issue, especially when his actual position is perfectly reasonable. Why didn't you just explain that, Milo? I know it's a little heavy and uncomfortable to discuss on television, but you'd be in a much better position than you are having lied about what your position actually was. As for the other claims about Milo, I think he dealt with them just fine. Nobody really thinks he should have spouted off the names of people he suspected of pedophilia with no evidence on Joe Rogan's podcast, opening himself up to defamation lawsuits with absolutely no chance of putting away anyone or doing any good at all. Well, no one who's thinking clearly anyway. Nor does anyone really think that he was too out of line saying that a better approach to someone grabbing your tit when you don't want them to is to tell them to fuck off and leave it at that rather than instantly jumping to reporting them to the authorities. I mean, I actually disagree with him. I think fostering a zero-tolerance culture around assault, sexual or otherwise, serious or otherwise, would be a good thing. But imagine if he'd said the same thing about a guy getting punched in the arm. That's assault, but nobody's going to go off the handle if you advocate holding off on getting the authorities involved unless it's a repeated, sustained, or particularly aggressive assault. This is the same understandable position, but with regard to sexual assault. Again, I disagree with it, but you've got to admit you can see where he's coming from. But wait! There's more! Other than the lesson about staying honest in the face of media attacks, we can also draw from these two scandals that building your media empire on the back of traditional media is a bad idea. PewDiePie lost his contract with Disney, Milo lost a speaking engagement with a Republican organization and a book contract. But PewDiePie is not reliant on legacy media to deliver his message. As much as the Wall Street Journal might not understand that, hilariously offering PewDiePie a platform to defend himself. WSJ, PewDiePie's reach dwarfs yours. It would be generous of him to give you a spot on his platform, not the other way around. He doesn't fucking need you. Milo, on the other hand, is still mostly known from being constantly featured in old media. He's arguably even more famous than PewDiePie, he's at least comparable, but he has 1/100th of the present on YouTube, just as one example of social media. When the mainstream media is attacking him, he still has to rely on them to get his message out to defend himself. This is not a good situation. To sum up, that's what we should learn from this. If you're the target of a media takedown, stay honest, stay on point, and preferably have a platform that doesn't rely on the very people you should have known were going to attack you. Well, that, and we should learn that nobody has a better understanding of the cultural zeitgeist that we find ourselves in than PewDiePie. He is your god. Bow to him, puny mortals. And get the hell out of my shitty Honda Fit.